Hello, everybody. Hang on, my microphone might be a little too loud here. There we go. Let's try it this way. Okay, I was sitting here thinking that I want to take a look at my old Amiga computer. A long time ago, I archived the hard drive so I can run it in emulation in WinUAE. And I thought, well, while I go through this, why don't I just record the video and just, sort of have I'll just show you what I did. This was what you see on the screen right now is what was my Amiga before I put it away back in the early 90s. Now, first of all, I'm just recording this, straight off of a microphone and straight off the screen capture. You may hear noises in the background, either my squeaky chair or, for that matter, my squeaky bones. You may hear the dogs walking around. The floor in this room is laminate floor, so the dogs will make a little bit of clicking noise when they move. So anyway, this isn't a professional recording. This is just, as if you were standing here watching what I was doing. So anyway, like I said, this was my Amiga back in the days, and well, actually, let me start out here. I'm running this in emulation. I am not going to show you how my setup was. I'm running this from Amiga. What is it called? The Amiga Forever environment. I bought into it a while back, and I keep getting the free upgrades, and it's convenient for me. But anyway, I'm going to just reset this emulation here so you can see what my computer looked like booting up, because I had some. Hang on, reset. Here we go. So it'll boot up actually faster than it did originally. You see all those windows popping up. It wasn't like that originally or on real hardware. That big yellow Amiga Workbench 2.1, that was just a program that puts an image up so you don't have to watch all the other stuff in the background. Then you saw that little bit about Intuition was trying to reset the windows. Some of you who've used Amigas in the past probably know about that. When certain CLI or shell-based applications are running, Workbench can't redraw itself. Plus, I'm using Magic Workbench for my colorization here. This is actually a 16 color desktop, 640 by 480, as opposed to an 8 color desktop. So in emulation, things are running a little bit faster because the drives are technically faster. I'm using directory structures as my access to drives. I'm not using hard drive file. Whereas on original hardware, the hard drives were technically slow by today's standards, so the timing on boot up was a little bit more sensible. You would see that yellow Workbench screen that kind of looked like a Windows 95 screen. But anyway, the snapshot of this Workbench environment, or this Amiga environment, is about 1992, 1993. It was a little bit after that I, put it away. Put the computer away. Well, I guess the snapshot would be when I put it away. So, okay, so 1993. It wasn't until years later that I fired that Amiga back up, which was an Amiga 500 at the time. When I got an Amiga 2000, I found I could move the original hard drive into that and run it on the Amiga 2000, and then the Amiga Explorer application came out with Amiga Forever, and I used that to transfer the contents of all the hard drive partitions, DH0, DH1, DH2. DH0 is the one called main, DH1 is the one called main not, and yes, I did get that naming influence from, what was that movie? Wayne's World. When they would yell not, that's why there's the 3 exclamation points, but hey, it's unique to me. And later, the DH2 is when I got the Amiga 2000 later in life and transferred the stuff over. I also got a video toaster. So I had actually copied the original drive to a larger drive. The original drive was 100 megabytes. The large drive was, I think, a 6 gig SCSI drive. And I was able to make additional partitions. So the video toaster stuff went on there, but I can't run the video toaster in emulation, so we won't see any of that stuff. But anyway, this was me, minus the toaster folder. This was me back in 1993. Okay, so I'm just going to go through some stuff here. I'm just going to play around. Some things may work in emulation, some things may not. You know, it is what it is. But, you know, I get to play with it the way I did before, and on a non-flickering screen, because, you know, those who own an Amiga know that since I'm running this in high-res lace mode, it would be flickering incessantly, even on some of the best 1084 variations of the monitor. So anyway, let's just start here by perusing the drives. I'll open up main. Oh, hang on. Oh, I see what here with emulation and today's high resolution mice is that mouse pointer moves really fast. So I'm going to go into my prefs and slow that down. So where was that? It was input. And I'm going to cut back the mouse speed. I'll leave acceleration on and I'll hit use. That way it doesn't see the changes. Now I'm moving the mouse. I like that. Okay, that's a much better speed. So I'll go back in and put again and save it. So now this environment will now snapshot that mouse speed. Okay, while I'm in here, you can see my pointer is not a pointer, it's a crosshair. I edited that and a long time ago because I kind of like the crosshair idea. So I made a crosshair, and you can set the point of the pointer anywhere within the entire graphic area that you can use to create a pointer. I think it's a sprite. So I did that in the center here. So the center of my pointer is the click spot. So cancel. Let's see, what else can we do here? Yeah, we can create a different busy. I didn't create a different busy pointer. I just kept the same hourglass thing. Screen mode shows here I am high res late. Oh, okay, 8 colors. It is 8 colors, not 4. Okay. I thought it, or not 16 colors. I thought it was 16 colors. Or I think I could do that, but I didn't. I think I tried 16 colors once, and it ate up a lot of chip memory. So I'm going to cancel out of this. So yeah, I'm in an 8 color workbench, and you can see this. The coloring is really nice, and this was actually easy to see on a flickering interlace screen mode, so that's why I dealt with it. Same thing with the background pattern. It didn't flicker as much when it did things, and you can see by my palette here, here's the 8 colors, muted colors, but this worked for me at the time. I'll get out the press here, and I'll open up main. I was neat and tidy with my folder structures back then, and all these icons come from the Magic Workbench package, which also introduced the 8 color workbench instead of the 4 color workbench. So I had programs that dealt with audio. I have a docs folder. Nothing in there, at least nothing in there with an icon. I have a productivity folder where I had a spreadsheet called Analyze, and I think I did my finances. There's a SHT file. Phasar, I don't know what Phasar is, so hey, why not? Let's just go and look. Phasar. Who knows? I may actually reveal some personal information here, but Phasar looks like a check register. Well, let's run it and find out. Antic Publishing presents Phasar Professional Home Accounting System and Register, 1999. I don't know what that means. Actually, I don't remember using this. So let's see here. It's project transactions. I guess this was it was like a budget program thing. So project. There's no load or anything. I guess it defaults to something. View edit transactions. It's picking up the emulation environment. Okay, let's try this here. Let's go back and do 1988. Total of income categories. Huh. Eh. None of this is mine. I don't remember. Video Plus for $3. I never had check numbers that high, so this must be some demo thing. Paycheck. Oh, let's see. Sears, 1997. Yeah, I don't know where this came from, but hey, this looks like a check thing. I wasn't using my Amiga in 97. Shame on me, right? But anyhow, so how do I go to the next page? Oh yeah, by the way, you heard that crash sound. I don't know how I generated that. Oh wait, what's this? Next screen, shift down. Last screen, shift right. Shift down. Okay, so yeah, see, I never bought child life insurance. So page 3, page 4, page 5. But hey, this looks like it would have been a useful program. I don't know why it was taking up space on my computer. I guess maybe I intended to use it. See, it looks like federal withholding, paycheck deposit, federal withholding. So it looks like it manages individual line items on your paycheck. It probably has a paycheck mode. Let's see. Amico, Hannibal Regional. See, you know what? This might have been from my wife at the time. See this category that says beanies? She was a big Beanie Baby fan. I don't remember having my Amiga set up back in '98. Maybe I did. But we were using PCs at the time with Windows. We would probably use that instead. So I don't know. It could just be I'm getting old and forgetting this stuff. But hey, it just makes exploration a lot more fun, doesn't it? So how do I quit? Escape. Alright, so how do I quit here? Quit the main menu. Escape. And I can quit here by hitting Amiga Q. Anyway, so, alright. It was new to me. This is new to me again. But that's nifty. Maxi plan. Let's see. What does this do? Huh. This looks like it was something that went with a spreadsheet program. Let's see. Open worksheet. And where was it? DH0. Okay. And that was under productivity, right? Maxi plan. Oop. Don't double click that. So how to go back? Go back one. Previous directory. XX plan. Maybe I never used this for anything. Maybe I was using this in '98. Maybe I did have it set up just for the fun of it, to try out some things. So now how do I get out of this? There's no close. Is there any way to escape from it, or am I stuck in this mode? Control, quit. There we go. Alright, so it's Project Master. I assume it's Project Master. Huh. Toolbox, add. What am I adding here? Oh, okay. Maybe there's instructions for this. Maybe this came off of a Fred Fish disc. Oh, see it. Error. Yeah, I had sound effects that I had the talking errors. So it would use the built-in speech synthesis libraries to talk to you. No, I'm not going to save the changes. So I don't know what Project Master was, or Proj Master, however it was. But Analyze, that was a full spreadsheet. You can see it has the same look and feel as a spreadsheet. I'm not going to open up anything on this, but I didn't do much in the way of, that kind of productivity work. I think I did play around with finances with this one. but I don't remember actually just concentrating on a regular basis. So anyway, first step is first. Let's just go here. Let's just start at the beginning. This may have problems with emulation. I heard that it can. So let's see what I had here for audio. Okay, so I used Ed Player. Ed Player is a fun one. I like this. Anybody who's ever used an Amiga knows what mod files are. And Ed Player was a great mod file player that just runs clean in the background. So I can queue up a bunch of mod files. I'll run it here. And it brings up a window like this, which looks like, a stereo component deck. Nice look that the Ed Mackey did here with the VFD style display. The graphics are a little chunky. The text is a little chunky, but most of the iconic buttons will tell you just by look what they do. So open, I'll hit open. This is how you open up a mod file. And I had an assignment to a folder called mods, and here are some of the mods that I kept on the system. I think I had more. I may have deleted some, but let's pick one here. I'm hoping this runs. Let's do synth song. Unknown type corrupt mod. Okay, well, all right. Let's do Wild, which I think is one that I ripped from a program that did demo graphics and stuff on top of Workbench. I think it's a Wild. Oh no, I'm sorry. That would be Workbench demo, WD demo. Hit that one. Unknown type. Okay, let's go to Wild mod. There we go. So you can see this. I mean, plays mod file. And everybody knows who used the Amiga back then. It was cool. I mean, the Amiga mod files are kind of based off that Euro trance type sound. The heavy synth, heavy electronica, and that's what hooked me into the Amiga audio, Amiga sound stuff. And it's just some cool stuff to listen to in the background. Ed Player has features like this PRG button lets you create a playlist. The help button, if I recall, I'm not going to press this because it makes sound music. The help feature, I think, lets you press that and then you can click on any of the other buttons and it tells you what it does. There's a tempo button which really switches between PAL and NTSC. You can see we're in PAL mode because most of the mod files were tempoed and created in the 50 hertz world of Europe instead of the 60 hertz world of the United States with NTSC. So tempo was a big thing. So if I switch to tempo, this would just sound a little too fast. Okay, sounds a little too upbeat. Sounds better in this slower type. And there's other things you can do here, like I click this button here and it changes the VU meter. So now you can see the 4 channels separately, because there's 4 channels in the Amiga. And this means it's fading out. I could set it to loop. Well, let's just open another one. This thing, it can loop the same sound, or it can fade out the same sound, or if you ran a playlist, you can have it fade out before it plays the next one. I don't think it crossfades. Travel to space, that was a cool one too. This was really long. You see it says position 0. You know what a mod file is. Mod files are blocks of notes, blocks of 64 notes. And this is the block position out of the highest this goes is 99. So there's 2 lines here. There's more than 99 blocks of audio. So this is a really long mod file. And as I go through the VU meter here, here's one that's more of a spectrum analyzer. It's cool to watch. And we'll go back to the version. And this little novelty here brings up the piano keyboard that lets you see which, quote, keys are being passed. So everything on the Amiga for sound is especially in a mod file, is a note. Now that note will play a synthesized or digitized sample. That sample may not necessarily be the same pitch as the note that's represented, but it is on the scale of all the other notes that at that particular point. So, you see these notes playing here, and gosh, I'm not really that good. Is that like an E or a C that it's bouncing around there? So, the way this worked is, it would be the same sample, but they made it higher pitch by playing it at a higher note, lower pitch by playing it at a lower note. But this just watches that in action. It takes up a little extra screen space too, but if I turn this off, it goes, I have to hit that again. Oh, that's neat. So it switches to side by side. I forgot about that. And then go back to just the single. So anyway, see if there's any more song here. I've always liked Tribal Space. It's really cool. Let's see if Ravex. That's also. This song actually this mod file actually came from the Scale of 400 presentation where there's actually a small presentation here that says this really well screen action as a demo for what Scale can do. And you see the piano blinker was kind of catchy for me. This one, no, PAL would be the slower speed, so, it's cool that, think about it, this is like the early 90s, late 80s, that these sounds were starting to come out, and you get this real sound, coming out of a home computer, and there's the notes again on it. Guitar Slinger was cool too, because whoever recorded this Guitar Slinger, let's hope it plays. There it is. Well, listen closely to it, because you can hear the finger slide, and those aren't generated, they're sound samples. So the finger slide is part of the music as a sound sample. So whoever produced this did a really good job making it sound like somebody strumming an acoustic guitar with real finger slides, along with like a wind instrument in the background and some percussion. So a lot of stuff was done with mod files back then, and then later on you would see these at those computer shows that would sell you all the IBM compatible boards, CPUs, memory upgrades and stuff, and they would be playing these Amiga design mod files to demonstrate those sound blaster cards. So, but we all know what came first. Anyway, I'm going to turn this off so you can hear me talking about the other stuff. So I used Ed Player a lot in the background, and I think I had a bigger list of mods. I just, at the time with a small hard drive, I just removed the ones I really didn't listen to. Let's see what else I can do here. Med. I think Med is the program that can create mod. There we go. This program can be used to create mod files. I think this one has a problem in emulation. Kind of a chunky interface, but let's try here. So we can either go to a device, as you see here, DF1, DF1, DH0 for the hard drive 0, or you can go to an assignment. I'm going to go to assignment here and click on mods. So here are my mod files. Let's try loading one of them. Let's try loading Guitar Slinger. So I click that, and this is just a crazy interface. You click on the file, then you hit load song. Okay, something flashed there. I don't know what went wrong. Let's see what happens. I hit play song. Okay, this should be scrolling stuff. It looks like it's playing, but it's not making sound. And I don't know what it is. Volume should be good. Master volume shouldn't be an issue. This might just be something that doesn't work in emulation. So I might not be able to do much with this one. But yeah, you switch this interface by clicking the interface type, and then you click the appropriate buttons. So unfortunately I can't show you this, but this would have shown all 4 channels of the Amiga, and it would show you sound samples. I wonder if I can play the samples. That would be under instruments. So do we have samples or instruments here? Can I play an instrument? Oh, something weird's going on. See that text up there? Yeah, something's going on here. So I'm going to just exit this program. How do I do that? I think it's under miscellaneous, exit med, and confirm I want to leave the program. And it's not leaving. You know what? It's locked up in emulation. So, yep, there we go. There's the guru error. Flashing a little faster than real hardware, but let me just see something here. Let me pause this recording here and reset this, or can I get this here? I'll just reset the computer. There we go. Okay. Alright, so that was a fail. Let's try. There was one other program in here, Audition. This Audition program is like Audacity of today. If you ever worked with Audacity, this is a sample. You can record samples, you can edit samples. I had a digitizer, an audio digitizer at the time. It's one of the first pieces of hardware I ever bought for my Amiga. That along with a NewTek DigiView adapter. So I wanted to bring in the video and images. I wanted to bring in the audio and do stuff with it. So let's see how this works. Okay, so there's my bar. Let's try to bring something in. Project, load to window, and where did I have things? Let's go to DH0, and that's right, there's the audio. Or did I have samples, sound samples? I did not. Okay, so we'll go into the audio. Audition. No. Let's go to parent. Was it under? I thought I saw some. Was it under med? Synth sounds. Here we go. These should be I think they were called 8SVX files. They were digital sound samples. So I'll take synth lead and see if I can load it. And okay, there it is. That's the synth lead. That's the audio samples of synth lead. Now can we play this? Play waveform. That's all there is to it, right? Alright, so load to window. And let's see if we can't find a bigger file. A lot of these are small. But let's try bass drum. Okay, so it won't let me do that. Well, anyway, so this was an actual audio editor. You could digitize with this, or whatever program you use to digitize and you saved it, you can load it up in this to do some editing in it. So you can do smooth it, lift the treble, lift the bass. It didn't do a whole lot, but it did stuff. That was a neat thing. What's this stereo mode? Oh, okay, cool. So you can do 2 slightly different versions. And I didn't do much with this, but it was a nice tool to have around. So I'm going to exit out of it right now. Yes, I'm sure. Okay, so that covers the audio stuff that I had. Next, docs. What's that? Okay, well, you know, I don't see any icons here, but I can do under window, show, all files. And I only have 2 files in here, rex extend and rex DOS support. So rex was, well, in this case it was a rex. Rex was I guess it was kind of an automation environment, a programmable automation environment. Something similar today would probably be PowerShell. But Rex was not as powerful, but it was powerful for the day. Rex was available on like Unix systems and probably a few other systems, but Amiga had their own version of Rex, which, wedged in nicely to into the Amiga environment. And if I knew then what I know now, I probably would have done more in, they called it AREX. But I didn't, and I feel not doing so or not taking the time to learn it, because who really had the internet as a resource back then? I lost out on a lot of knowledge that I could have worked with, and I just don't have the time to do right now. Okay, so we saw productivity, system. Okay, so this is one of the original system drawers that come with Workbench. Fountain, I don't know what that did, and maybe running it will let me know. I think Fountain let me look at fonts. There we go. So here's all the list of fonts that I have in the system. And so what can I do with it? Modify existing typefaces. Oh, here we go. So I can pick a font size. Doesn't let me do anything, so I don't know what this did. Do I drag? No. Source typefaces is existing. Honestly, I don't know what this does. There's not even a menu for it. So I'm sure it's explained. I think this came with Workbench. I'm sure it's explained in the Workbench book, but who reads instructions? Let's see. Fix fonts. That I forget what that did. I think that was just a utility that you ran it, and if it came back clean, then nothing was wrong with your fonts. Fonts were really tough to come by at the time. It was a jungle to work through. It's not as easy as it is today with true type fonts that's universally acceptable or accepted. But fonts are the thing. Oh, but in system, here you go. You get the shell. This is the DOS prompt, and it's also slash, not backslash. If I do a dir, okay, so I got that. Actually, list was better, because then you get all the details. But it took a little longer to scroll. So here's a directory. So if I do list graphics, and it's a very Unix style shell, but it's not case sensitive. So I can use the word graphics all in lowercase and still get graphics with a capital G as the directory. So I list graphics, and there's the folder, the graphics folder off of the main drive. I can also do the next volume, the next hard drive partition is DH1. I can do a list DH1 colon, and it'll show me the root folder of DH1. A lot of stuff I have in here. It was kind of my junk drawer, so to speak. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. And there's where my mods folder is. Notice it's all caps. But I can also hit the up arrow, okay, and bring back the last thing, and then do DH1 colon mods, and it shows me all the the folder or files I have in that mod folder. So anyway, so I use shell a lot to do things, because that's usually where I ran archiving programs. Like we have zip files these days, right, or 7Z. But in the Amiga days, it was LHARC or LHZ, which are programs that would compact files, create a single file. It would archive stuff, or zip it up basically. And So that was one of the things. And another one that was really cool was DMS. It's called Disk Masher. And DMS would let you basically, it would read an entire floppy disk and save it as a single file. Which was good back then because it would also compress it, so you could send your friends a copy of your floppy disk that you have. The legal floppy disk, right? Quote, quote, nudge, nudge, you know what I mean. So you could copy that unprotected floppy into a DMS file, upload that to your bulletin board, and then somebody can download that and do a DMS extract, or in this case, write. So you see the usage here. DMS read file will read the disk to whatever file.dms file you create from. You have to use the keyword from also. So this is really where it's like a lot like Unix stuff, except you don't need like dashes or double dashes. So from, and then the device number. So typically you would do DMS read, and then let's say mydisk.dms from df0 colon, and then you could add, I never really played with the other command line switches like this, nor did I ever do any encryption or anything. And of course, the reverse of that, if somebody has a DMS file, they can do DMS write, the name of the file, and then to, and then they can put DH0, and it will, write the contents of that file back to the disk track for track. So, yeah, the shell was used a lot if you were manipulating a lot of files or moving them around, or trying to get them. Yeah, if you're doing BBS stuff, you most likely had these tools. So, okay, so that was system. WB Startup. These are programs that I launched automatically. PC0 was a driver that if I stuck a 720K 3.5 inch IBM formatted disk, it will read it as an IBM disk naturally. It'll know the difference. Tool Manager, I use that too, and you can see it if I hit right click. See this tools folder? This is not normally part of Workbench, but Tool Manager puts it in here. You can have quick start for a lot of programs. But another integration that it has in it is if you hit left Amiga F1, and I'm trying to remember the key mapping on this. I think it's the Windows key, Windows F1. Tool Manager creates this little pop-up icon bar, or this could be text buttons. There's different ways of configuring it. I like the icons. And each of these launches a program. Now, was it 20, 30 years later? Here we are. Right now, I get into the habit of this. I think if I hover over one of these, it's going to pop up and tell me what it is. But hovering like that was, that just wasn't the thing at the time. So I have to remember what these are now, since, I forgot some, but I know what these are. This is Art Department Pro. This is Imagine 3D rendering program. This is Real 3D. This is Video Toaster, which will not work in emulation. This is Rend 24, which took output single frame images output from Real 3D or Imagine and put it together as an animation file. This hunk of garbage, I forget what it is. I'll click it, but then I don't know what I'll get. This here is, I think, the Fred editor, which is part of Art Department Pro here. This is another program that can assemble single frame images together into an animation file. This one's Can Do. This one, Can Do is a, think of back in the day, HyperCard for the Macintosh. It's a card-based programming environment. It's one of the few programs I actually ran out and purchased because I thought I was going to do something and make a lot of money off of it. I wrote a program which will let me create, I called it Wallmaker, and I don't know where it's at on here and if I'll be able to run it again. But Wallmaker integrated with Real 3D because Real 3D had an AREX port. Remember I was telling you about AREX before? Real 3D had an AREX port that through Can Do, which also had an AREX port, and that's how it did the interconnection between programs. Um, so the wall maker program, I could put in, let's say, okay, I want to create a wall. So I would say, I want this wall to be, 8 feet tall, 20 feet wide, and 6 inches thick. And it will send commands to Real 3D, generate the 3D object, and implement it in the scene on Real 3D. I really thought at the time I was going to make money taking people's uh, the architecture or architectural plans for expensive houses and build them mathematically and render them in 3D so people could see what their houses would look like before they were built. It's something you could do on your phone these days, but at the time there wasn't a whole lot of that going on. At least not without spending tens of thousands of dollars for the service. And here I was, some snot-nosed young person who thought he could do it. Unfortunately, life got in the way, and I was doing it. I actually sold 2 jobs. I got paid for 2 jobs doing that. It was fun doing it, but it started taking a lot of time, and I had to work a 9 to 5 job or an 8 to 5 job just to keep the money coming in. I just did not make it go any further. But yeah, that's what Can Do is all about. AV, Amiga Vision, P. This P is Page Stream. I'm just jumping over some of these. Some of you may recognize this as DPaint 4. This is DCTV. It's a paint program. Actually, it's a controller program, which also has a paint program in it. But the Amiga did 4,096 colors all at once using a hardware hack to hold and modify as the image mode. Basically, it starts with the first pixel in the line, and then it will hold all but one of the red, green, or blue components, and then that's the modify part. It would modify either the red, the green, the blue component for the next pixel down the line. So you can change the shade slightly, and then it kept going down the line, holding the last set, but you get to modify one of the base colors, and as it draws the line and then draws the multiple lines, you get a good 4,096 colors on screen. And when it was done right, it actually looked really well. But DCTV went a step beyond that. A DCTV image file looks like garbage. Actually, it kind of looks like the screen backdrop if you look at its original Amiga mode. But when it was piped through the video output into this DCTV box, it created a 24 million color NTSC display that looked awesome. I mean, for the time. It's, by today's standards, it's blurry. But it looked really good at the time, and a lot of the animations I've done, I've rendered in DCTV format just to get the real look, so I can record it onto VCR, a lot easier. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff I did with this. It was like, I won't call myself a Renaissance man, but I used this in that way. There's a lot of things that I did, but I wasn't an expert at any single one of them or all of them. So I just did a lot of different things. Here's some communications programs. I think this one here launches the Audition program. Here's one that launches the shell. This one here, I think, turns on interlace mode. And I forget why I had that there. I think it was because at the time my Genlock that I had, which allowed me to superimpose Amiga graphics over top of NTSC video coming through it, I needed to turn on interlace in order to let the sound timings work through the Genlock, because when you put the Genlock in place, for some reason, and it may have just been for what was called the Amy Gen, that's what I had, the cheap Genlock, for some reason all audio output was reduced in speed by half. And it has to do with the NTSC timing and stuff like that. But all sound ran slow until I hit this to make it, force it into interlace mode, and then suddenly sound would work fine, which, you needed that if you were superimposing graphics over top of NTSC video and wanted to overlay some digitized sound. This opens up, I think, I'll click it now. I think it opens up, there it is, SID. I forget what SID stands for, but this is like was it Xtree or Xcopy or whatever, so I can look at the contents of my hard drive here. I click on here, open up the contents of the next. Oops, let's see. Okay, so no, these buttons are on each side. Click here. Here's DH. So here's DH0. Here's DH1, and then I can click and can't drag. They didn't have that at the time. I can copy. I can copy this whole page stream folder over to DH1. So this allowed me to move files around real easily. SID was a good utility. I think these two here were to split large files onto multiple disks, and to take those multiple disks and combine them again. This 030 with a slash through it. My Amiga 500 at the time had a accelerator on board. It was a CSA Derringer board, and you pulled out the 68,000, you put in the CSA Derringer board, and you put the 68,000 on this board. It all fit in the case. It was really low profile, and it also added another convenience. You can use up to 32 meg of 72-pin SIM and get up to 32 meg of additional RAM on your Amiga. It was amazing, and I used that a lot with the rendering programs. So some games or some utilities that weren't 030 compatible, this just launched the tool to cut off the 030. It ran the CSA Derringer program to cut off the 030 and go back to 68,000 mode. So I must have put that here because I had reason to use it. Oh, you hear a cat in the background maybe? Actually, I'm going to close this here, and you won't hear a difference or see a difference, or probably won't. But I'm going to pause this recording, and I'll be back in a bit. I think the dogs need out. And just like that, I'm back. I hope for your sake that YouTube had conveniently forced one of their ads right in that spot while you're waiting. It would fit so well. I don't have any control over that. Anyway, so that was Tool Manager. And I realized when I paused this video, I noticed I've been talking straight on for almost 48 minutes. So, hey, if you're still watching this, great. I hope you're learning something from it, if not just out of curiosity. So I'm going to continue on here, and let's see. That was Worksbench Startup. Okay, COM. Drawer cannot be opened. Why can't it be opened? Yeah, I used a glass dropping sound as an error sound. I'll get to that later. I may have an info file with a differently named folder. Actually, you know what? I can do COM. I'll go back to the Tool Manager here. I had NCOM and term. I used NCOM for a while, but then I really liked term. So I forget which was which here. Okay, so that's NCOM, I believe. And term. Okay, so they're not working. Why not? Okay, well, I guess I won't show them right now. We'll continue on. Workbench conveniently puts in an empty drawer. And it's empty. And to prove it's empty, I go up to the window, show all files. Nothing. It's empty. Actually, what that came in handy for is if I clicked on this, because there's no right click other than to bring up the menu, I can actually copy it and then paste it and rename it, and I can just create a new drawer or folder for other programs. So that's just there for you to make duplicates of. Programming. What did I do? Okay, so there's the AREX. I'm gonna show all files here real quick. APIG, what is that? Let's find out. APIG, application notes, dat file, old release info, set APIG global. Okay, so APIG doc. Alright, so I double clicked on that. There's no associated file or program for it, so I have to... There wasn't Notepad. What was the name of the program for a text reader? That may have been under utilities. Let me open up utilities. Oh, can't do that while this is open. Utilities. Yeah, come to think of it, I don't think there was any real text reader that came with it other than going to the shell and using, I think it was the more program. I think there was also a less program, which was a little bit better. Oh wait, there's more. There's more. Okay, so let's go back here, APIG doc, and then go up here and see if more works right away. If not, I have to... Okay, there it is. Okay, more works right away. So this is more or less. AREX Programmer's Intuition and Graphic... Oh, there it is. APIG. I guess at the time I wanted to be able to do Amiga graphics of any sort with AREX. And I probably picked this one because, as it says, it's in the public domain. So I'll hit the space bar to go more. So I didn't get very far with this. And in hindsight, I might just explore this at a later date because I'm more familiar with programming against an API of some sort. And this is considered an API. It's a library file. So it has structures like you can work with menus. You're going to work with images via the IFF library. The IFF library was like the fundamental library of functionality for programmers to work with the native or the accepted 8SVX sound files or IFF graphics files or whatever was considered standard for the Amiga at the time. So 16-bit arrays, layers, borders. So I guess a lot of stuff can be done with this. I'm hitting the space bar to go through here. So using a library call. So I guess these are examples within the AREX environment. So anyway, so yeah, if I had paid more attention to this stuff, maybe I'd be a better programmer today. Who knows? Or should I say, maybe I would be a more versatile programmer today. So I'm going to close this. And so that's what APIG is. So this AREX guide, if it works, okay, it's a folder. This is like the built-in help feature. Like on Windows, you have the help reader. I forget what it was called. Well, in the Amiga, you had the guide. So if instructions were compiled in a guide format or Amiga guide format, you can then just run these files would be compiled for that. So I hit this, and of course it's going to fail. Oh wait, I'm sorry. There's this guide thing. So this is the hyperlinked, marked up guide instructions for the AREX guide. Let's see here. Yeah, Amiga Guide, I don't remember. I think it came out with Workbench 2.0. I don't think there was Amiga Guide that was built into the earlier versions of Workbench. But Amiga Guide, when you can find instructions for something in Amiga Guide format, it was like great at the time, because you can see there's hyperlink stuff here. Like click on this, I get more things about intro to AREX, how to do a Hello World program, and it has all these. This is a well-written Amiga Guide file, because you look at this and you can see this as a web page these days. Here's your link. and all the good words, every aspect of it has been well indexed. So control structure. Yeah, really, I should have sat down and read this back in the day. But anyway, this is a guide to Amiga Rex as a programming environment. So, and then there's context, there's index. So Amiga guides were really good tools to have, information to have. Of course, they take up hard drive space, and back then hard drive space was limited, so maybe you didn't have a lot of .guide files like this in your on your computer. But these are some additional files that went with the AREX guide. Why this doesn't run, I don't know. RexMast. Okay, I guess I would have had RexMast installed. But I had something here for AREX. Let's see if I have any hidden. No, I am showing all files. Okay, so that's all I had for programming on a conventional level. Tools. This was, I believe, a default Workbench folder. I may have added some stuff since then. Let's see. Where is it? Not that tools. Clean up. Let's rearrange this. And while I'm at it, I think I can do this. Highlight those and snapshot all. Okay, so that now forces all those icons in that position. Let's do a show config. See if this works. Oh, that's right. This is a text only. Sysinfo is what I needed to show everything. So this shows me I have an ECS Agnes CPU. This is my earlier environment with the 68030 with 882 FPU. Normal Denise, Kickstart version 37.175. RAM, 8 meg memory, unidentified board. Well, that's because of emulation. I don't think the emulation will identify itself. Let's see. This was like, that's font editor. There we go. So, we can edit fonts here. I can create a whole new font if I had the patience to do so. But I believe that came with the Amiga environment. Emacs. Emacs is if I recall, it was originally a Unix program, a text editor, very versatile text editor, if not archaic. It had like these odd incantations of control sequences to get things done that, when you learn them, you almost forget how to do anything else because it takes that much room in your brain to do anything, to remember it. But it also had a menu-driven interface. So I used this version. It's called Memacs. I don't know what the M stood for. Micro Emacs. That's what it was. Micro Emacs. So I use this a lot for my text editing. So if I had to edit the startup files on the Amiga, I went to the shell, the command line, and typed Memacs followed by the file I wanted to edit. I'll just load it right now. But it does have, you can see all these weird control symbols, paired control symbols, like to rename, Control X F, to save as a file, Control X, Control W, the caret symbol means control. This is what made it difficult to use or learn. I say using it was easy. If you need to edit stuff, it's a full screen interactive editor. It works great. But when you needed to do some weird things, you had to go to if you needed to copy a section, you had to go to the beginning of the section, and if I recall, you had to mark it. Set mark, Control at, and to do Control at, you had to do Control Shift 2. So Control at would set a mark, and then you'd move your cursor to the end, and then you would either yank it or copy the region using, intuitively, right? Not, if we do have to do a Control Shift 2 for mark, then we obviously have to do an Escape W to copy it, right? So that's what I hated about Micro Emacs, is there was nothing intuitive about it. You had to just remember these commands, or lucky enough to have micro Emacs here, you can use the menu system. So, and to close, yeah, you can save and modify, or save and exit is Control X, Control F. To quit is Control C. And I don't remember if you make changes to the file, does it remember that you made changes and it will remind you to save it? Whatever. But it gave me full screen interactive editing, so I just dealt with it. So it was a go-to program for me, so I'll get out of that. Let's see, we did show config, we did icon. Okay, no, icon edit will let you edit these, whatever icons here. There's where I put the tool manager stuff. So I click in here, and of course there's nothing. There's no icon files attached to it. So these are the different files that went with tool manager. Speech toy. Okay, let's try this.
Hello, this is Amiga speaking.
There we go. So you can type in text, and you can change the gender.
Hello, this is Amiga speaking.
And
Hello, this is Amiga speaking.
change the mode. Manual.
Hello, this is Amiga speaking.
Huh.
Hello, this is Amiga speaking.
And then you can adjust the rates and stuff like that. So I guess, well, when you type in text, I don't know if that changes the phonetics part of it automatically. Yes, it does. I hit enter and it changed it. So
Hello, this is Amiga speaking.
gave it a draw there. So, okay, so this came in handy if you needed the phonetics in your programming code to pass on to the speech library. This lets you do that. I don't know if I don't think any of this gives any indication that you were using one or both speakers or outputs, or whatever gender and tone or mode that
Hello,
is in.
this is Amiga speaking to you.
So, yeah, okay, so it is speech toy, so I'll let you play around with the speech. Find it. This I can never get to work right. Let's see. We had on in the main not. That's where I had my mods folder. So if I do contains, what was the one of the sound or music files where it had the word tribal in it? Okay, so I click. It contains tribal on main not. I hit find it, and it doesn't find it. Like I said, I couldn't get this to work. Case insensitive, new search. Do I need to put... Nope. So, I don't think I ever figured out how this worked. But I must have used it once to help me find stuff on a hard drive when I first got a hard drive for mine, because it's a lot harder to find stuff on a hard drive than it is on the floppy, because you have, at the time, what seemed like unlimited space. So anyway, let's just quit this. Free map. What'd that do? Oh, shows my memory mapping. How much is in use, how much is not, with very poor color coding. How do I get out of this? Oh, wait. There we go. Quit. Alright. You gotta love that there's no standardization to menus back there. Quit, please. Info, please. Each pixel represents 64 bytes. If all the bytes are free, the pixel is dark. So dark is free space. Else it is light. And this was, okay. This was written by R.J. Michael. Wasn't he the Apple guy that did stuff for Commodore Amiga? Or maybe he just played around with it and thought it was a cool tool to make for the Amiga. So, There's some provenance in this program. So let's please quit this. Okay, so get out of the tools. Word proc. Here we go. I loved word processing because at the time I was starting to get into word processing on my Amiga. I was working for a company where I had learned WordPerfect and in short term started teaching WordPerfect. So I got into word processing programs. And some of these don't look familiar to me, so let's give them a shot. What's WP? Oh, is that WordPerfect for the Amiga?
Please insert this disk.
Okay. It is WordPerfect for the Amiga. I forgot I had this. And at the time, I was surprised that WordPerfect was made for the Amiga. What this means is WordPerfect needs to have a disk volume name. So think of it as a path on DOS and Windows. It needs to have a place that it knows is the starting point for the WordPerfect disk. So I need to create this assignment. And the way I can do that is bringing up the shell. Let's do it the fast way here. There's my shell. And let's see here. So click here. And let's see. Oh, I hope if I spelled it right. Okay, so I want the usage instructions for assign. See, these show my current assignments, and I can slow this down by hitting the right mouse button. I can pause it. So I don't have a WP assigned. And if I remember, let's see, it's assign WP colon, and then it's on DH to assign it to this folder, which is DH0 word proc /WP. And there it is. Okay, so you put the assignment name followed by the assignment path. So if this works, I should be able to hit retry, and it will assume this folder is the assignment folder, or is the WP folder. Why it's not working, I don't know. Or did it work? Nope. There may be more to it. I may have to run this setup program, if that even works. Or, at the time, notice my screen's a little off. I did the window drag, but it's not behaving very well under emulation. There we go. You know what? That's easy to fix. Let's just restart this. So, maybe WordPerfect doesn't work in emulation, but it was obvious I played with it at one time. So let's go to the next one. PM Plus. What's that? Printmaster Plus. Oh, okay. Not really word processing, but this is kind of like print shop. See, I can print my own lost dog thing. So, yeah, I can do all this cool stuff. And it's funny. My pointer disappears. And as I move the mouse, it's changing these things here. Arrow keys or mouse to move, return, or left button to select. How do I get out of this? Oh, exit the workbench. So, again, this is a program that breaks convention. It doesn't work with the mouse pointer. It works with the mouse. So as you move the mouse, you move your selection. And it's not too bad. It's not too fast, not too slow. But why did they break convention? It's an Amiga. This isn't a Commodore 64. So exit the workbench. Press enter or left mouse button to exit Printmaster Plus, escape or right mouse button to go back. Alright, left mouse button. There we go. So, AMP. Award Maker. Wow, boy, I had stuff I didn't realize I installed. So, so this one uses the mouse. See that? Oh, enter style number. Let's do 1. Okay. You might have needed the instructions to make this work. Let's put my name in here. You win the internet. Exclamation point. Okay. Enter signature. Your boss. Yeah, this screen looks a lot like an Atari ST gem environment. Enter date. I hope it doesn't give me problems. Well, the day I'm recording this, 05/10/2024. Okay, so I can choose one of these different styles around. Okay, so I don't recall ever actually making a certificate with this, but hey, I must have found the file, must have thought it was cool. And border color will go with black. And I don't have a printer set up, so we'll preview the award. Yay, there it is. Can I zoom in on this? Here I am. I hit the scroll wheel thinking I could zoom in on it. New habits die hard, don't they? Alright, so how do I get out of this? Escape. Oh wait, there is award preview. I close it. There we go. So, alright, yay. You know, that's what that does. Nothing fancy. Let's just quit it. Pen pal. My, this looks cumbersome. So, there's no menu. I'm hitting right click and nothing appears in the menu window. So everything is button driven. Like that. What happens if I type? Nothing. I don't know what I'm doing here. It's like it's not responding. Which means, how do I get out of this? Can I do Control Q, Control C to quit? This is weird. Oh, there we go. System, File. Wait, I had to select that to do something? No. I click this. How did I get that to turn black? Well, whatever I did made it work, but I can't make it do it. Oh, there we go. I clicked the border. Right click. Quit. Alright. Well, it quit. It's not quitting. So it's Amiga Q. Right Amiga Q. Okay. Well, if I can't quit it the conventional way, I'm quitting it the 3-finger way. Final writer. Okay, Workbench 2.0 added some features to the Amiga that the earlier versions didn't do well. Is you are able to use the Workbench screen for your application if it supported it. Otherwise, it would open up its own screen. So I could click on Use Workbench, and it will probably just create another window in the same color scheme as the rest of Workbench for me to do stuff. But in this case, I'm going to open a new screen. I'm just going to do high-res laced NTSC, 8 colors. Hit OK, and here's my document. Good, typical word processor stuff. Let's just see if there's a file I can open. Okay, here's my resume at the time. So let's open up this AD&D sheet. Let's see what I did with that. Oh, I did. I was such a nerd, or I still am, but I was such a nerd. I created, or started to create, a Dungeons and Dragons character sheet using Final Writer. And as you can see, I never got past the stats. So there's a lot more I could have filled in here, but it was cool to have it available. But this shows you Final Writer for the Amiga. It did have some cool features. Again, my habit is to hover over one of these things and wait for a pop-up to tell me what it's about, but that doesn't happen here. I assume that every one of those buttons has a menu alternative. So I mean, you can do color text, change stuff with it. Okay, this looks very versatile. You can import graphics, tools, spell checker and thesaurus. I guess you can create a table of contents and an index. Very powerful tools. Um, so that would have been a very versatile word processor. But another good one was PageStream. You run that. This one runs only in its own window. But let's see if I can open a file here. I think I used this to start to create a flyer. Innovative new techniques makes remodeling decisions much easier. I was telling you earlier how I used my Amiga to design houses from architectural blueprints. Well, I tried to extend that to, taking an existing room and through 3D graphics and other rendering to show you how your room might look like if you remodeled. Like if you wanted to build a bar or a table setup or whatever. I wanted to start doing that, and I didn't get around to it, but this looks like a flyer I was beginning to write to promote that. So PageStream, it's a good program, but it doesn't look as powerful as the last one that you saw. It'll do columns and stuff like that, and it's easy to put in graphics and whatnot. But a lot of its features, it doesn't have a button bar, so a lot of its features you're going to get to from a menu only. And I'll quit this. But yeah, and this is still, the same Amiga I was working with. I had all these tools available to me. Why I didn't use them all completely, I don't know. But I just liked having them available, although they did take up space. Expansion. Okay, so at the time, I had GVP, SCSI controller, and these are some of the tools to help me work with that. This Boot 68000 worked with the CSA Derringer board, which allowed me to reboot the computer into 68000 mode only instead of shutting off the 030. SID. That's a program I showed you earlier, which you can, I'm not going to get into it again, that lets you have a left side and right side and look at two different volumes and then copy stuff between them. Trash can, it's going to blink on me. Devs, this was part of the Amiga workbench environment. I didn't do much with devs. Where I got a lot of my utility from, and that wasn't the utilities folder, is the graphics folder. I loved creating graphics. I was never really good at it, but I loved tinkering around with it. So, let's just start with some of the simple ones here. Those are some graphics tools. Let's start with paint programs. Okay, so I had DPaint 4. And anybody who uses an Amiga knows what DPaint 4 is. Why they put the icon way over here, I don't know, but let's run it. Yeah, you didn't see that. Some of you already know what that means. Let's do NTSC low-res lace. Is there a ham mode here? Now, let's just do low-res lace. This one had modes for the AGA chipset. This is not configured for the AGA chipset. So I can't use like the Ham Plus or Half Bright Plus. Any of the plus ones would have the extra colors from a AGA chipset. This has the ECS chipset, the enhanced chipset. So we'll do low-res laced and hit use, and it will open up. Deluxe Paint with 32 colors. Yeah, 32 colors. So I'll click that, click purple, and there I am, drawing a line. Yay. Alright, so I'll pick one of the light teal or turquoise, and I'll just spray paint that. Or I'll pick a slightly different color blue. Oh, that's a nice color blue. I click that, and let's just fill in this. Okay, so you had a lot of paint stuff that you could do. This was one of the big sellers of having, an Amiga, is that you can work with paint programs like this. And because it was DPaint 4, you can also create animations. So one page at a time, you can set a number of frames, and then you can go to the next frame and then copy the previous frame into the next frame and then make the changes, almost like you're doing the old style cell animation. But let's see here. Let's load some pictures that I think it came with. Like, so, okay, here's the King Tut, but in ham mode, and it asked me, do I want to change the format to that of the file? Yes, I'm going to do 320 by 200 in 6-bit ham. And okay, new Tut. So this is 4096 colors. When you're in ham mode, you see the palette down here, you have palettes of color, but you can also see the artifacting from ham. Remember how I told you ham works? First pixel in line gets one color, next pixel in line you can only change the red, green, or blue component, and then the next pixel in line you can only change the red, green, or blue component. You can't change two or more at once. So 3 pixels, it takes 3 pixels to transition from one unique color to the next unique color, and you get this, what is called ham fringing otherwise. But if you work it just right, so you can see some of the fringing in here, how it goes from a dark color to a light color. It has to do that through 2 stages. But if you sit back and squint your eyes just a little bit, or imagine this, not in your high resolution monitor that you're viewing this in, if you imagine this on a CRT that already kind of blends colors together, this picture would look outstanding. And that's kind of a drawback of modern high-resolution displays, is that you can really see the nasties in the old Amiga ham environment. Let's see. Load reference palette. So we're going back to 32 colors. And okay, so here's a nice layout of the default colors. So Deluxe Paint was like a de facto standard for creating images. Let's see, Venus. Okay, let's do Seascape low res. Okay, so somebody had fun drawing that. Yeah, there's a little house in the hill. Animations. Let's see if I can make this work. Juggling. Okay, what's the tour? Okay, here we go. This is DPaint animation straight up. So it's 32 frames, and if I go to method, control panel on off, if I play, if I hit 4 or hit play, it'll play and it should loop it. So somebody did all 32 frames, making subtle changes between each one to produce this kind of output. But hey, the Amiga was designed for graphics and sound, and this is one way they was able to promote. Because DPaint 4 had the animation, DPaint 3 I don't think had it. Or it was DPaint 3 that first came out with animation. DPaint 4 came out with the AGA chipset version of it, so it can use the higher density of colors and stuff. So anyway, that's DPaint. And Let's see, move, save, add a brush, frames, control. So next and previous is 1 and 2. So if I hit 2, 2, see I'm hitting the number 2 key, and I'm going 1 frame at a time, and then I go back with 1. So yeah, they drew this, and then they probably copied the next frame and then made whatever subtle changes. One thing this program did not do, I don't think, is it didn't onion skin. There was Disney made an animation program for the Amiga, and that did what was called onion skinning, where each frame was made translucent to the frame before it. So you could see down like 5 or 6 frames, and each frame further away would be dimmer and dimmer, but it looked like you were looking through a very thin skin of an onion. You could still see light through it. And the onion skinning allowed you to see up to six or 8 frames back, and then as you drew your changes, you can keep in line, keep consistent spacing for the movement and stuff like that between the frames, so all your animation, look natural, just like a real cell artist does. So I'll quit out of this, and we're back to that's right, I had more paint programs, and there they are. Then there was Ren 24. That's the program that really wasn't a drawing program, but it let me take a series of single frame images that were sequentially numbered and turn them into an animation file in various formats, like natural Amiga colors, higher res or higher color ham mode, the DCTV I was telling you about, either 3-bit or 4-bit, and whether it was color or gray or whatever. It allowed you to take those images and render them in most output formats that were available at the time, including scaling of the image. And I long since forgot how to do that. DCTV, I can't show you that because I don't have a DCTV hooked up to this, so it won't work right. It may show you what a DCTV image looks like. Let's try something here. So, and yeah, the DCTV device also digitized real time from NTSC video sources, so that was convenient too. So let's go into the paint program. Okay, so you see how this weird coloring is? It looks really muted and pastel. Well, that's digitally encoded image or graphics that, when viewed through a DCTV device onto color composite monitor of some sort, would actually show more colors. So this is kind of encoded video, but it's encoded as video to be converted, based, through the device, the DCTV device. But a DCTV animation would have a lot of this coloring to it, very muted pastels. But in real time, real life, you would see up to 16 million colors. Brilliance. I think this one. Okay, what is it going to run? Okay, so it may not run. Yeah, it looks like it has an issue with the emulation. Or what's this true brilliance? Yeah. And it's going to reboot for me. How convenient. Brilliance is a better program than DPaint 4, but it also had a slightly steeper learning curve. So it is what it is. We were in paint programs. Main actor, I think, was a...
Please insert this disc.
Yeah, again, I have to do an assignment to make this work. Let's try that again. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. So I'm going to come down here, assign, and it was called main actor, and it's going to go to DH0. Then it was graphics. Then it was paint progs. Yeah, spelled right. And then it was main actor. And see if it picks up that assignment and lets me continue. It did. There we go. Main actor was another program that I believe, because I didn't use it much, lets you import a series of still frames and compile them into an animation, or it took an animation and broke it out, or a modular animation package for the Amiga unregistered version, so maybe it doesn't do half the stuff that I would hope it would do. But yeah, okay, so it would load universal, it would understand several different file formats, graphic file formats, and then it would create an IFF animation out of it. I don't have any source stuff here to try this with, but this was one of the many tools I think I played around with to render animations from some of the 3D programs I worked with, which did not natively render animations, but it would render a bunch of still images for each frame of the animation. So let's see, is there anything in an example here? Okay, what's this?
Attention. Attention. Attention.
Okay, this is, oh, main actor will let you put sound on it too.
Attention. 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 Attention.
This is a sample animation with sound.
Attention.
So, okay, that was kind of cool. I might have to explore that again. Pick loaders, it'll do, and I'm gonna say it, GIF. So if you're cringing at that, that's your problem, not mine. IFF, PCX, remember that format. Universal would basically be all these. Universal EGS, whatever that stood for. Merlin and okay, Picasso 2. Picasso 2 was a real-time graphics card for the Amiga, which did 24 million colors, or 24-bit, 60 million colors. So I guess that they had their own file format, and this was part of it. Retina was another type of card, and Workbench Icon, whatever that was for. Anyway, so I might have to play with main actor again. I forgot that I had it, and I really didn't pay attention to it. Probably more than what it took just to get it installed on the computer. Let's see, DigiView. That was one of the first programs I had for my computer. This would use the DigiView hardware to digitize an image off of an NTSC source. So the device is plugged into the parallel port, the printer port, and you plugged in your composite video source, and then this would digitize it. But DigiView worked in black and white, but it still created, it lets you digitize color images. How? Glad you asked. The DigiView program came with what's known as a color wheel, and that color wheel had it is a round piece of plastic cut into 4 pie sections. One section was a pure red, the next section was a pure blue, the next section pure green, and the last section was completely clear. But that would connect to an arm that would connect to a black and white camera, just maybe a Nuvicon camera, at the time, or one of the early CCD cameras. Either way, it put a color filter in front of the black and white camera you decided to use for your image. So if you had this mounted on a stand pointing down to your desk, and you put a picture on the desk within its view, and then you turn it to, let's say you put the red filter, they were like filters, you put the red filter in front of the camera first, and you scanned, I gotta hit OK here, see if I can go further. It'll probably tell me I cannot find so digitize. So you would digitize each component individually. So you would put the red in front. You don't touch anything. Don't move the picture. Don't do anything. You would roll the red in front of the camera, digitize red. Then when that was done, it took about, 20, 30 seconds. You rolled the filter where green was in front of the camera. Then you digitize green. Same thing for blue. Or if you were lucky enough or spent the money for it, you can use the auto feature, which was an attachment that went with the DigiView, as of course you had to buy it separately, which would automatically roll that filter for you, and it would do red, then green, then blue, and unattended. So when you digitize with a color filter from a color image, like a picture, to a color through a color filter to a black and white camera, the black and white camera's black and white information would only show or only depict the levels of red. So the more red in the image, the brighter the black and white portion of that image is. And then the same for green, same for blue. And when this program combined them, you get a full true color image. So it's playing with the nature of light. Now I did not have anything. I did not have a black and white camera. It came with a color wheel. I didn't have the black and white camera. But I worked off of freeze frames on video output for VCRs or whatnot. I bought this device that was called a digital color splitter. And you put your color composite signal in, and then you would turn this knob between RG and B, and it will only show you, it only pass that color portion of the color image through its output as a black and white image. So I did mine electronically. I think I still have that device somewhere. But I electronically split my composite video input to the three colors to create a digital view, and it actually worked pretty good. I have to find that device. It'd be neat to play with that again, or at least just to show it, because I'm sure very few people actually bought it. But DigiView was one of the first things I used to start, to do what I wanted to do with the Amiga. I wanted to bring in all the full color pictures in some way. So DigiView was one of the first programs I got that did that, and the first pieces of hardware that I got to do that. Art Department Pro, Add Pro. I used this a lot. What this will do is you can load, actually, how did I do this? Right click, loaders. You can load files of any of these types, including MacPaint even, and some other stuff that, or I guess Screen lets you pull a screen. I never actually remember trying that. Anyway, so there was many different file formats out there to work with. But if you use Universal, it'll try to detect it. So what this lets you do is you can load any format. So here is, okay, I'll just take this, which looks like a numbered frame from one of my renderings. Let me get a later number here. So I hit OK, and it loads it into its buffer. So it'll have the image ready to work with. From here, I can save it in any other format that I want. There's pre-assigned ones, or I can change my saver. Like if there's certain, I can have the 3 default ones, and I can save it to any format and assign it to whatever. So I can save it as JPEG, or I could, like it tells me the file is a 362 by 482 6-bit ham, so it is low-res laced ham mode. So if I set the render screen to low-res laced ham mode, which is already set to, and I do, oh no, I'm sorry, the original image is 736 by 241 color, but I want my render screen to be this. So this is high-res non-laced. I can view this in a high-res laced view. So Let me hit execute. And it's drawing the image in high-res laced. But I already see something about this. For one, because I did a 482 line tall, it's only going to show him half the screen. But you see that coloring? That's because I created this image in a DC TV output. This, if I have a DC TV hooked up to this emulator, which I can't do, I would see this in the 16 million colors. But I use this to see certain things in 16 million colors where I wouldn't be able to do that natively on the Amiga. Let's try one other. Let's see if I can't find parent. Another picture. Maybe I have a pix volume. Do I have a pix volume? Projects. Nope. Okay, so maybe I have a pix folder somewhere. I'm just trying to use the scroll wheel. Okay, pix. Okay, so AS logo. Okay, let's try this Garth, whatever. Is this Garth from Wayne's World or Garth Brooks? We'll find out. I'll hit OK. So, what am I doing? Composition screen. There may have been something special about that file. We'll find out. Loading the image, 736 by 241. Let's set my render screen to the same thing, just to get a. See, so 736 by 241 will be high-res, non-laced. There we go, maximum size. So this would have overscan. And I have computed palette, so it'll pick the best 16 colors it can use and dither them. So actually, I have to stop this. It won't work because I don't have ham mode. So let's color map it. And this thinks I have the AGA chipset when I don't, so I have to go to 16 colors. It may not look clean, but let's execute this. Yes, it was Garth Brooks. Look at that. So why is it coming up double tall? Okay, let's just set high-res lace and see what happens. Okay, maybe it only scanned that way. But anyway, Art Department Pro lets you work graphics. You can scale them, you can crop them, you can do all sorts of stuff. There's a whole lot of operators. So this is a very versatile program. And is it going to show me the operators? Open operator list. There, okay, there's the operators. So, you know, I could do a bunch of image manipulation with this program, and that's why it's on my computer, or was on my Amiga. On that Century program, I think that one, if I remember, when I was rendering graphics out to disk, the Century program would watch for that, and you could give it a file pattern, and then as it saw the next one, it automatically performed an Art Department Pro process on it to convert it. So I could render the image in an unviewable high resolution 16 million color format that I couldn't visualize on the Amiga. And then with that Century program running, I could tell it to take the next when the next file appears, grab that and convert it to a viewable mode, like ham mode, and then save that out. And that way I would have viewable versions, and because the Amiga multitask, it could do that in the background. So there was a lot of stuff I could do with this. Let's see, paint programs, we're done with that. Virtual presentation. Okay, so here's the can do, and okay, I'll show you Scala. I told you about that earlier with that music, so I'll run Scala multimedia. I had to pause there real quick because the dogs picked up on something outside. I just had to double check it. Anyway, so looks like this was the last project I had open, and Scala is basically a presentation program. It kind of like what you would see that created electronic presentations, page-based electronic presentations for cable TV channels or whatever, information channels, or the Weather Channel type thing. This particular project, and I don't know how well to run on an emulated environment, was a presentation I created to render to video tape for a project I was contracted on back in the early 90s, where I wrote some scripting applications for Microsoft Word to automate the building of, it was a game day type output. Like it was something that automated within Microsoft Word, that you would put in certain stats. Like say there was a basketball game going on, like a high school basketball. You would take your numbers at the end of the day, type them into this scripting, and it will build a page almost like you were writing for a sports magazine or something like that. And this was something to create a video to help promote it. So let's just run this right away, see what happens. It might have some jitteriness, it might have some quirks, but let's give it a shot. Funny, I used that Tribal to Space mod file for this. But I created this. But Scala created this kind of stuff. So you make your graphics and whatnot, and then you lay it out in this, and you just create a presentation out of it, and you just take the output of the Amiga and render it to videotape. I saw a little miss in the way it handled some of those graphics, but that's the emulation part of it. The emulation of the Amiga, you can't quite keep up to real hardware. Like those pauses there, they were seamless in the original. And you can really see the edges of the text when the fonts are blown up. Yeah, I wish I still had the original source code for Microsoft Word stuff. It wasn't my idea, I was just contracted to work on it, but it's a good sense of accomplishment from it. But I used my Amiga to do it, and that was my prayer at the time. And the guy who originally created the idea, he had these books with cellophane. You would print the page, and then you would slide these printed pages out and put them in the cellophane inserts, almost like a, what was it? It was like a photo album type thing, and you build your own game page book. So anyway, so how to chip memory. Yeah, these are graphic intensive. So that's okay. So every one of these out of chip memory errors is probably where it glitched. I think I really squeezed as much out of this as I can. So let me load another script here. Let's see, how can I do this? Scripts. Okay, so I think DH0, graphics, presentations, Scala, scripts. There were some built-in ones. I was telling you about that Rave one. Here's the Rave one. I always thought this was cool. This is the one that sold me on Scala. So I'll load this one. Nope, I don't want to keep the. So all right, and this, if I recall, an emulation does have a few glitches, but this is one of the things that sold me on getting Scala for my Amiga, just because of what it was able to do when you have good source animations and graphics. So let me run this one. Jumping around on the screen is the emulator switching to higher resolution over scan. And the best it can do is just make the screen bigger to reduce it. But all this activity are just small animation clips that when put together creates a rave style presentation. I mean, this is the way this ran right on, think about it. Early 90s, playing this on a Commodore Amiga, and just seeing this kind of activity, it was just mind-blowing. And this program lets you time the music with graphics. So anyway, set yourself back in the early 1990s and remember what it was like back then. That should blow you away too. So yeah, I use this not as often as I should, but it was a rather nice program to create that kind of. So I used it on other people's Amiga's computer, like our local cable, public cable channel had an Amiga set up, and I used this for a couple of their in-between show bumpers to just create, visual scripts to do stuff. It was an amazing program. Yeah, Multimedia 300. There is a Multimedia 400. I don't have that one. I'm sure I know where to get it now if I wanted to. But, and that was, you can control that with AREX too. So you can actually control Scala Multimedia from an outside process through the AREX environment. And I don't see it here. I'm going to bring it up slightly different way. Amiga Vision. Okay, I must have taken that out, but never took out this thing. Amiga Vision was a presentation program that works like Scala, but Scala was a lot better. Amiga Vision did more like flowchart type programming, so you can have something appear of a certain type of object, and then they can go to the next object at a certain amount after a certain amount of time, or it can make branch decisions to do certain things depending on user interaction. I actually have original Amiga Vision software, but I think I've taken it off my environment in lieu of Scala. Can do, as I was telling you about, that I created that program that lets me design walls and send them to a 3D rendering program. This is the program I used to do that. And gosh, if I can remember how I even loaded the stuff up. This okay? So they're called decks. So like I said earlier, it's like HyperCard. So it's open, and okay, where did I put that? Okay, I called it wall maker. So here's my wall maker. Hopefully this is the deck of cards. And honestly, I kind of forgot how to do this. Alright. I completely forgot how to do this. It looks like it loaded up the Real 3D program, but I cannot get it to respond. Oh, wait, there we go. Okay. I guess it was still loading stuff up. I think what it did is it loaded Real 3D because this worked through the Real 3D program. Let me lower this. So, yeah, here's my wall. Okay, this is running the deck. Okay, so this isn't editing, this is running. So I had this set up with 3 buttons. I can either build a wall in one direction, build a wall in a perpendicular direction, or upon entering certain points, create a room environment. So I click this, so I can call it new wall. Gosh, I forget how I did this. Origin 90. I think I used. Did I use inches? I used certain units that I'd have to look through the source code of this thing to. Oh no, this is button editor. Oh, okay. I'm editing. All right, I'm editing the button, so that isn't running. This is just the first screen. So let me cancel this. So how do I... Oh, I'm going to spend forever trying to figure this out. So I'm browsing. Design. I almost have to get out the instructions for... Okay, this was it. So this page, I think when it ran, in this page I can set an X position, I can set an origin point in a 3D environment, and then I can set an offset, and then create the object, and it will build that object based on those numbers. That's how I did it. Okay, how can I run this? Is this the run button? No, exit. That's the card list. I only had 4 cards. Is browsing it the same as running it? Shows you how long it's been since I used this. But anyway, this is a hyperscript type environment for the Amiga. I'm going to get out of it right now. I've been talking an awful long time. Yes, I'll quit can do. But I'll just put on my list of things that what was I thinking when I did this list? There we go. So it did load up Real 3D to talk to it. Exit Real.
Error.
Yeah, it's going to give me... Continue. Alright. So, that aside, where am I at now? I did presentation stuff. Now we'll go to virtual. Okay, here's where I did a lot of my stuff. Starting with, I can't run Lightwave because that went with the video toaster and I don't have the video toaster hardware. I can do Vista Pro. Vista Pro was nice because it created scenery. That's an unused drawer. So let me load up Vista Pro. I like this a lot because this would create scenery and then you can export that scenery as a file that can be used in the 3D program. So I'll just do a where is it? Blend, G-shade. There was a ability to just generate something random. Project, was it under project? No. Load. Generate, no. Create. Oh no, that's I would have to, okay, let's use one of these scripts. I don't think I remember doing this. So let's load up the Matterhorn. Yeah, we'll delete the existing file. So how did it generate? Generate. No. Yeah, I thought I remembered how to use this. There was a, no, that's a view. Fractal. Okay, that was it. It was under fractal. This may not be the Matterhorn. This is just I found out how to generate topography. So I'm going to do something. I want to set my camera down in the valley here. I'm going to set my target kind of in this right there. Now if I hit P, okay, that's kind of a wireframe view of what I'm going to see when I go to render it. As soon as I remember how to render it. Okay, so here's render. Well, let's just try rendering and see how fast it goes. Okay, there it is. Very, very coarse drawing, but you can see how this can create landscapes. So I'll hit the left mouse button to get out of that. Let's try generating this at a higher resolution using a, what is it, a lower poly count? No, okay, here. High. Okay, so it's been a while since I used this. So my target is going to be here. My camera is back there. Let's render it now. This looks like it'll be a higher resolution because it takes longer to render at the higher resolution. Let's just hope it doesn't take too long. I'm basically wasting a lot of time here. It counts up to 255. And it'll keep going. So I'm sure if the longer I play with this, the more I can figure things out. But this actually created dynamic topography, and you can put roads, you can put buildings in, and it will generate what was good at the time. That kind of stuff. Or you can create rivers. I think if I remember, rivers are nice. You click on it, and you click on one spot on here, and it would actually naturally flow a river down from the high points, which is white, to the low points, which were green. You can also create trees, like you can do trees, but then you can set a tree line at a certain altitude. There was a lot of control that you could do with this. And, yes, you can generate a picture of scenery, but you can also export that topography as I said before, as a 3D object that you can bring into a 3D rendering program like Imagine or Real 3D. I was hoping this will render faster. Maybe I can abort it and only show what was done so far. Nope. Okay. I was hoping it would work better, but I don't want to waste a lot of time here. Now that I aborted it, it's going to have to start it again. Yeah, see where it says here, Save Turbo Silver? That is the 3D format that can be brought into Imagine. And then you can do your own, you can, create your own coloring or whatever for it. But then at least you have topography that you can put in your scene that you're working with. So I'm going to go ahead and quit this. But I like that just because it was cool generating stuff. So let me go into Imagine, which for some reason does not show up. Guess I don't have an icon for it, but it does exist. Alright, so Imagine 3.0. This is kind of the meat of what I was doing with the Amiga. So I have to open a project if I don't create a new one. I'll open one. So I have disks, TH1, I have a folder called projects, and not all of these. Okay, so there's my Imagine folder. So what did I do here? Let's see what Benchy does. Hit OK. Alright, so you when you have a project, this is basically shows you these. I'm doing a 45 frame animation. Now this won't create the animation file. This will create 45 frames that I use one of those other programs for to turn into an animation. But from here, then I can go into something like, there's different ways you can edit. You can edit the individual objects that are going to be in a scene. You can also edit what's called forms, and I forget the difference between the two. Then you can do a cycle editor, which creates some fundamental pre-programmed movement and animation for an object, like, you know, an arm moving on a robot or a leg moving on a robot. Then there's a stage editor, which lets you place everything in a scene, so everything's going to be where it's supposed to be. I don't know what action editor is. I never really played with that much. Spline editor worked also, I believe, with cycle editor to articulate motion. Everything was broken down into bite-sized pieces. It was good, but it wasn't very intuitive. So I'm going to go into detail editor, and what you get is a orthogonal view. No, you get an orthogonal view here, and you get three-side view here, and then from here I can I can load one of the objects from the scene, and it doesn't. I have to go in and find the folder again. It doesn't really remember where it last was. Projects, and then I need to go into the Imagine folder, and then I need to go into the Benchy folder. Here's the objects, and one of them was a staff. Okay, we'll see. Alright, here I am trying to use the scroll wheel again. I forget how I moved my environment. Let's see here. How can I zoom out? Display. Zoom in is Amiga I. Zoom out is Amiga O. So Amiga O. O. No. Maybe it's right Amiga O. There it is. Right Amiga O. Now I'm zooming out. Okay, so I guess this is a staff, a music staff. So here's, like I said, our orthogonal view or perspective view. This is showing the staff object that I created. Unfortunately, I can't just click and drag this view. It kind of sucks, but it's what we had at the time. So if I want to recenter, that is Amiga dot. Do I click the object, select it, and then hit Amiga dot? No. Oh. Amiga dot, and I want to center it on this. There we go. Alright. Now it's coming to me. So I would edit individual objects here. I forget how I created this, but this is an object. If I want to load another object to edit, like the ring, I can do that, and I can bring that in the same environment. So here's a ring. For whatever reason I did it. Anyway, you can edit one or more objects in this view, but then in order to put them in their environment to be rendered, you have to go to the stage editor. And this is a multi-frame thing, so I'll do...
Please insert this disk.
Okay, please insert volume, whatever its name is, and I can't see the name, in any drive. I'll hit cancel. It'll probably tell me it can't open the object file because somewhere along the line I deleted, messed up something, the file got corrupted, whatever. I can't get to the stage of this project. So I'm going to go into project editor, and just for fun I'm going to open another project, maybe one that works, maybe this Candlewick one. These names sound familiar. Let's go to the stage editor. Can I see my stuff here?
Please insert
Nope.
this disk.
I have a undefined volume, disk volume. You know, I probably loaded this stuff off of a floppy disk. I probably ran Imagine off my hard drive, but my files were on a floppy disk for the most part. So I guess that
Please
one's
insert this
lost.
disk.
Yeah, it's probably loading more than one.
Please insert this.
Every time it asks me, it's another file that I have in the wrong spot. Okay, they say third time's a charm. Let me try one more project. Open. Let's go to the parent. And I think the electronics one was a Imagine project. And it is. Let's go to the stage editor for this. Yeah, of course. Oh, okay. So there was one file that was missing. It couldn't find it. But you can see, kind of see what I have here. I mean, how do I move the perspective around? Display, camera view. Okay, there we go. So this was something, I was just goofing around. I wanted to create a circuit board. So I designed transistors. And I can load the transistor up in the object editor. And I can load this capacitor in the object editor. I can load these resistors, which I've duplicated 4 times in here. And then I created traces, and then of course I have the board. But this is how I design 3D graphics. Some of this stuff, some of you who've seen this stuff in action in the past, this kind of layout looks familiar. Those of you who may use Blender today kind of recognize this environment, or at least the look of things. So it's you know, it's gotten better through the years, but yeah, the Amiga still had its thing going for it. So I have this scene here. I'm going to go back to the project editor, click on this first frame. I'm sorry, I need a sub-project. So I need to open a sub-project. I have one sub-project called 1. Alright, so from here, oh, something was rendered. Okay, so that star means I already rendered a frame. So let's see if we can't show it. Maybe. It's not going to show it to me. Alright, so let's try this. It's generated. Can't open object file. That's right, there was a bad object file there. No lights. Oh, that's right. I have to put a light in. Yeah, error rendering frame 1. Okay, so let's go back to stage editor. I don't know what that missing file is. So, okay, here's my camera. My camera's here. So, was it Win, or not Win, right Amiga out. So, there is my camera looking at the scene. This is my camera view. So, I want to add a light source. And hopefully I can click on that light source without clicking anything else. Yeah, that's the one problem here, is the resolution is kind of low. It's hard to click on something when you zoomed out too far, and it looks like it's putting the light source right on the transistor. And there I select the transistor. Okay, let's go back out again. And I think I can select by name. So object, pick select, find by name. No, I don't know the name, which is why I can't find it. I can find by requester. There we go. Light source. Pick select. There we go. Now I can move this. Actually, what did I do to recenter? Is right Amiga dot. It's recenter here. And I want to move this object. How did I move it? Is it transformation? There we go. I can position, and I want to go, see, it's kind of cumbersome. 10 in the Z axis for form. That wasn't much. Okay, let's try, you know, this will all come back to me. So it's right Amiga T, position 110. Why isn't that moving? Oh, okay, here, move. Well, that was easy. Okay, so we'll move it that way, and we'll move it in front. I forgot about those buttons at the bottom. So we'll put it there. That way it should cast light in that way and down that way. Actually, let's bring it down just a little bit more. Alright, so let's save the scene and go back to Project Editor. Go here, generate. And now it says up here, frame 1 initializing. Hopefully this won't take long. You know, I'm going to cancel this real quick. I want to make sure I have it in a mode that we can view. I wanted ham mode presets. Let's just do regular ham. That way we're not spending forever to do it. And I want to do it in 12-bit ILBM because this does DC TV output, and it won't look right because I don't have a DC TV hooked up to this. So let's generate this and see how long it takes. Generate first. So it's initializing, and hopefully it won't take long. Technically, I'm running this under a 25 megahertz 68030 with 882 floating point processor. And, okay, so this is the palette pass. So it's determining the palette. I was hoping it was rendering that fast. I mean, I could go into the Amiga environment and force it to run faster, but it won't get you the real feel of what I was doing. Looks like it's going fairly quick. Yeah, one thing I didn't like about Imagine is it doesn't let you see real-time renders. I started out with the program called Turbo Silver, and that predated Imagine. Impulse made both of them. So Turbo Silver was really cool because one of the things that blew me away about its capabilities is that you can import an image into your 3D environment and make that a light source. And what that did is every pixel was like a projector, projection image. So the image would light up, and then it would reflect that light off of reflective surfaces. Really powerful stuff. It took forever to render because at the time I used that, I was using a non-accelerated Amiga, and I would set a simple scene, an image on the scene and a reflective ball over a checkerboard surface, because everybody did checkerboard surfaces back then. That's just the way it was. Um, and I let it go, and 8 or 10 hours later, I'd see if I did everything right. Crossing my fingers that, hey, what I created was a valid, useful scene that showed that, hey, this computer created a visual image out of nothing. That was great. I mean, this is after the movie Tron, but before what you see today from, was it ILM or all these other Pixar, type stuff. It was just amazing what it did back then. Um, Yet another reason why I'm glad I invested my money in a Commodore Amiga, because I like creating this stuff. And as you can tell right now, I'm just talking to pass the time. We're at 68% complete, which means when you saw the stage that had the thing, it was a little blank at the top, so that would render faster because there was nothing there to ray trace. But as it goes down into the meat of the stage from the camera's point of view, there's more and more to ray trace. And if you don't know what ray tracing means, basically, it just means that from the light source, a photon of virtual light is calculated to to an object and reflected back to the camera. Actually, I think it goes the other way around. From the camera's point of view, the camera can see a spot in an object within its rendered environment. So if I'm rendering 640 by 480, it knows where X pixel is and Y pixel is, and then it calculates from the camera's point of view where that would end up to that spot in the scene as it vectors to it, and then from that point it can calculate where light source may be and how that light source may vector to that same spot in the scene to be reflected back to the camera, tracing the light rays. So hence ray tracing. And that was kind of a brute force way of designing or rendering graphics. There's better algorithms right now that run a lot faster computers that can do that, almost instantly, or mathematical shortcuts that you can't even tell the difference between a ray trace version and an otherwise rendered version using some other formula. But back then, it traced rays. So this generated here. Let's just hope that it looks good. I'll hit show. There it is. Okay, crude, cumbersome, but I created that, including the solder blobs. Those solder blobs look a lot better than anything that comes out of my soldering iron, even to this day. But the transistor face, that was an image I mapped onto a transistor, and when I put it in the scene, I created a second transistor. This circuit does nothing other than shows you a circuit. If I rendered this in a higher resolution, and I might even consider doing that, render in a high resolution, maybe I'll make it the backdrop of my Windows environment, just for the hell of it, right? Anyway, so this is some of the early work that I did on the Amiga for creating 3D graphics. But this is a crude looking output because of the nature at the time. But again, imagine this on a CRT screen, which already does blur the dots, and then squint a little bit. It's not bad, for what it is. It was truly mind blowing at the time. So I'm going to exit out of this, and I'm going to go to one more program before I stop this recording, because this is where I did a lot of additional stuff. Real 3D. When I first worked with this program, I couldn't believe what it could do. I still don't know all the stuff that it can do. I just know it was powerful. Let me try something here real quick. This is a rendering of what it can do. And this comes with the program. You see the dice. You see the small apple that's below scale. You see the transparent dice. You see the checkerboard, reflective checkerboard. And you see the blurry dice. All those are effects in Real 3D. You can actually create motion blur. Or you could back at the time. And you have transparency effects, and you can adjust amount of light reflection, and you can also adjust, what do they call it, refraction of a clear material to make it look like it was a lens, to make it look like it was just straight through clear plastic or clear glass or something like that. It also lets you generate textures like the wood grain or like the marbling that you see on the checkerboard. Anyway, this was something that came with Real 3D. The actual scene for Real 3D is included, but this is an example output of it. And that is an example of some line animation, because Real 3D will do animation, and it does it a lot better than Imagine did. Imagine you basically have to make the changes in each frame yourself. This one can use you can perform, what do they call that, procedural animation, where mathematical formulas can do the work. I didn't get that deep with mine for that. Where's my pointer? I lost my pointer here. Okay, Control C, Control Q, Amiga Q. You know what? I'll just do the old 3-finger salute, because I don't know why I can't get out of that animation. But I can certainly go back in a lot faster. So, main, graphics, virtual, Real 3D, and let's just get into it. See all this here? You need a guidebook for that. I don't have the guidebook with me, and I can't hover over it to see it. I guess if I could do that, I'd be doing more with this just for the fun of it. But this environment is a little more open than Imagine. I can set a 3-view with a perspective window, but everything can be done, loosely in its own little window. Like here's the objects that I have in my scene. It's an empty scene. So I'm going to go ahead and load up one of my projects, and to do that, it's not project open, it's project replace, to replace what's in there. So I'll go to volumes. I have an assignment called projects, and any of these .r3ds are my projects. And let me see if I can get one that this KTV stuff here. I did some graphics for a local cable show called Kid TV, and KTV for short. The producer of it didn't have more than 3 or 4 shows, but they contracted me to create some bumpers, bumper videos between scenes, and that's what I did. That's what I have here. So I'm going to load up one of them. I think this one will work. Some of these I think are corrupted, but this is one of them. Okay, so this is the environment. This is a TV. Now remember, early 90s. If you remember the TV series Saved by the Bell, there was, and that's kind of what I used as an inspiration for this. There was, odd shaped shapes. Like squares weren't squares, rectangles weren't rectangles. Squares were slightly distorted squares. Rectangles were slightly distorted rectangles. So I applied that to this to create this TV. You can kind of see the shape of the TV is wild. Okay, so I have television knobs. These things are kind of like they're structures that create, in this case, a box, and this box is basically a punch out. So this whole thing is a solid object, and then these with the rounded corners here create a punch out object, which basically cuts a hole in that shape in the bigger object. And then I have this KTV logo, which was actually rather easy to make. I just drew an item point to point to point to point using these weird KTV shapes, and then extruded a little bit just to give it some depth. And all this is wrapped in a mapping, which maps a texture onto it. So this is a single view scene that, if I wanted to right now, I don't know what it'll look like. I can render this window right now just to get a quick, I think it'll do a black and white type rendering, and it will render and display real time. So let's see what happens here. Alright, sorry for that abrupt change in the video here. That sound you just heard was my wife calling me, so I wanted to make sure I took that call. But here's a black and white or grayscale rendering of that image. I'm going to try right now to change the rendering style, give it some color. Render, let's see, settings. So this one was 736 by 241, so this is high res, non-laced. I'm going to change it to, there's different modes on these things, like there's outline, which looks like when you're editing. Draft is the mode you saw right now. It's just a quick render in grayscale just to see things. There's environment, I forget what that does. Lampless, it just renders it with a unnatural, I guess, cast light. Shadowless, rendering shadows in the 3D environment does take some time and computation, but this particular image does have a shadow which works into things. So I'm going to go to normal, which is true ray tracing. So in order to do that in a 16 color graphic mode, I have to have some dithering in place, and I'm just going to use this fixed random integer and hit OK. And let's see, can I clear this page? Camera. Now I'll just leave it like this. When I render, it's going to probably leave this screen but then start rendering in color. We'll see. So I'm going to render window, and we won't be able to see it at first because this draw, okay, maybe you can see it there. My pointer is following it. There is rendering going on the blank area, and then as it starts getting down to the actual object itself, it'll slow down the render because it actually has to do a lot of computation, but it should start appearing in color. And this definitely takes a little longer. Okay, so now you can see it starting to do here. And watch it make a liar out of me and actually do it in grayscale. This was not in grayscale, but that's the best color it could produce. So, what can I do next here? Because this is supposed to be shades of blue. We'll find out if it's actually doing it in color, because then the KTV part is going to be in yellow. So it's not doing that. So it is doing a grayscale screen. I'm going to hit escape and stop this. And then I'm going to do something, and every time I use this I get confused by it, but I'm going to create a full color ham based screen for this. And to do that, I got to go under project and open a screen, and then I choose the screen style I want. I want NTSC low res laced ham. Hit OK, and then while this is here, I have to open up a window on this screen, which will be my rendering window, and I'll do a view borderless. So there is my object. I can close this, and then let's see if I can do camera view. There's camera view. So this is a lower resolution, but from here, if I, let's see, where is it? Render, settings, and I do this as normal, I should be able to get a full color image out of it. Render ham, and hit OK. And now you can see it's starting to render the top of the image, which, you know, has no objects other than the ground, so it'll render a little faster. But then you can see it rendering as it starts getting to the corner of that TV. And this is how long it took. You know, it wasn't fast, but it was because I had an accelerator installed. It was fast for the time. If I did this on a stock Amiga, well, this wouldn't run because this is a floating point version of Real 3D. I definitely needed an accelerator, or at least I needed an FPU. This is really low quality. I did not render this for final output in this mode. I used that DC TV device to give me full 16 million colors out of a stock Amiga with just an external video device. But you know, again, like some of the other stuff, this is something I created. I was, you know, contracted to do it, and I had fun doing it. It was a neat learning experience. Unfortunately, the project didn't go very far, or else I would probably had a little bit more work to do, make a few bucks here and there while I still worked full time. But it is what it is, and you know, this is just something to remember. You know, this is what I used to do, you know, for fun. You know, if I got a few bucks for it, great. Again, here's the fringing of ham mode where that red is. We're trying to go from black to yellow right away, but we can't do that. We have to change only one thing in the interim, and that's why we have this red fringing, and that's why you see the fringing around. Let's see, I don't have a pointer. There's my pointer. Yeah, that red fringing is because it can't just go from black to yellow. It has to go from black to another color by changing one of the three primary colors, and then it has to go to the next one. So it tries its best. If this were higher resolution and it still did the same fringing, you probably really wouldn't notice it. But as you see, because I did normal rendering, you can see the shadows from the light source being cast. And I have versions of this that were animated. So I've been on this video for almost 3 hours, and I know that's a lot of time. Okay, 2 hours 40 minutes. So I think I gave you a good view of what I wanted to show. Just, you know, a day in the life of somebody who used an Amiga back in the day, and I'm glad I was able to share it with you, and I actually remembered a few things that I didn't realize I had, and probably learned a couple things. It gives me a reason to go back and look at it again, but I'm glad I preserved my original Amiga environment, and I saved the hardware, and then when emulation came around, it made it easy for me to go from original hardware storage to virtual storage. It was great that I was able to do that, so I always have this, even if I don't have original hardware. But I do. I actually duplicated this environment on my Amiga 4000, which does have the AGA chipset, and I get better graphics out of it. But that's not how I originally ran the stuff. I originally ran the stuff as an Amiga 500 stuff, but in this emulator I did it as an Amiga 2000. It's the same thing, but yeah, it works really well, and I can still enjoy using the computer the way I did back then. Okay, so there's the rendering. How long did it take? 3 or 4 minutes for this frame. Now imagine 30 frames a second of video. How long it would take to render a whole video. And this was considered rather fast at the time. Today, video cards, they do real-time rendering, and some of them do real-time ray tracing, which is really heavy on the resources, but you can get a really good natural look out of it. But hey, that is now, this was then, and it's just cool what you can do with things. So go back in here, project. I'm going to exit this application, and I'm done with Real 3D. Yeah, I said I was going to pretty much finish things up. Some of these other things I have here, I don't remember what Forge was. Forge. Huh. What did this do? I think this created textures. Yeah, I can create textures and modify them. I didn't play with that much. I guess I installed it on the system, but really didn't do much with it, and forgot about it. But yeah, like I said, that was my life with the Amiga. I mainly did the 3D graphics and then operated any other tools that I needed to operate to make that work. I don't really have much else to show other than page stream, word processor, and I already showed you that. So I can quit this. Anyhow, any questions or anything, put it in the comments down below. And if you watched it this far, thank you. Congratulations, you made it through my long-winded review of my past, but I enjoyed recording it. I hope you learned a few things from it, or if not, just, it's a piece of history. So anyway, thank you for watching, and you have a good day.